it felt like I was becoming a new mom. So it was very interesting and helpful, very, very helpful.
You know, there was that self-conscious part of me, like, will I be accepted even though I'm not perfect?
What I like the most is that she really listens.
The support that she gives me is special because she does it with love, and it's just natural, you know? That's all I could say. It just feels like somebody that I've known since I was little.
You know, I said to Jeanette, Jeanette, you're supposed to be with me for 5 years. Jeanette said, yeah, I know, I'm going to be with you guys for 5 years. That's when I said, well, I guess I can trust her. She's going to be with us for 5 years.
Yo creo que quizás pasó como a la segunda visita o algo así, como que ya nos presentamos formalmente. Y luego ya creo que en la segunda visita estaba como todo más tranquilo, como muy... como que el ambiente era muy familiar, entonces yo me sentí muy cómoda.
Felt like she cared for Sparrow too, and Sparrow really enjoyed it. Yeah, she knew when Gabby came we were going to be making something or learning something, and she'd instantly start digging through Gabby's bags to find out what activity we were going to do.
Not only did we get the assistance with this program, but we also made a really good friend. I'm happy to call Gabby our friend.
I think the relationship that we've built has been just, she's a part of the family.
When I first realized that I was going to be a parent, I was super scared. After 2 or 3 weeks of meeting in the home visiting program, I was totally comfortable with the fact that I was going to have a baby. Yes, I was still scared, but at the same time, I felt like I had some sense of strength behind me.
If I didn't have those resources that Jeanette provided me, I think it would be harder now.
I got into the program and I realized, like, oh, this is nice. And now look at me, I work at a family resource center with parents and families, all this stuff.
I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to meet my home visitor, because without her, I think that I would be 10 steps behind from where I'm at right now.
Pero pues aquí pues ya los enseñan un poquito más cosas que uno no sabía, como cómo cuidarla, cómo desarrollarla, cómo educarla, y pues es algo bien porque pues cosas que yo no sabía, pues ya usted nos las dijo y todo como consejos, y pues muchas cosas que se aprendieron.
I don't know what's normal for a 22-month-old baby or an 18-month-old baby, you know. When we get together, we usually discuss and get some progress made with the baby. It makes me feel comfortable, and I associate my parenting with her, my home visitor, telling me, yeah, this is going great.
So it's nice to know where they're at, what stage they're at for every parent, and also to give, again, your children that head start in education.
If I had any questions with her, just call her up on the phone. You know, it was very relatable, very personal. And, you know, with her getting to know my kids, you know, she got to kind of help guide me along the way. I mean, there were so many cool things that I've learned.
I went from a very rough type of life. I was homeless, and she was able to help me get into school, and I actually have enough credits to graduate with a business degree right now.
I think I really want to mention just that I'm grateful that I took advantage, because it's something that has put me in touch with my child, or closer to my child and her development.
I want other people and parents to know that the home visiting is not something that you should be afraid of. It's actually something that is needed.
You know, because she's not just here for her, she's here to help with all of it. She helped me create a safe space where I feel comfortable enough to ask for help.
Don't be afraid to take that step. Like, don't be afraid to get help. It's always okay to have extra support.
I would say, give it a try. You got nothing to lose. It's free. There's some perks, you know. They got some great resources.
Personally, I think everybody could benefit from the home visiting programs.
Para mí también ha sido muy importante porque al no tener mi familia cerca, Gabriela me ha ayudado como a guiar esta parte maternal, porque tampoco tengo amigas con hijos acá en el pueblo, entonces ella me ha dado como compartido su visión de la maternidad como algo muy íntimo, muy personal, entonces eso a mí me ha ayudado un montón como para guiar también la mía.
When I first realized that I was gonna be a parent, I was terrified. I am very far away from home. I don't have any family here, my family. I have my husband's family and my husband's family support. But I don't have my mom and my brother and my friends. When you find out that you're gonna have a baby, and then when you have the baby, you forget everything that you've learned, and it's kind of like you're starting all over with the whole learning thing.
We bonded so much because we, you know, welcomed her into our home, and it was easier for me because, you know, she was still, you know, a small infant, and it's a lot of work when they're, you know, that young. So I really appreciated that she was able to come in the home and support her emotionally.
I had wanted to be a mom for a long time, but I just didn't have any experience.
Muy sola, porque no tenía mi familia, porque no tenía amigos. Desarrollé una depresión postparto, entonces como que lo pasé muy mal al principio, fue muy difícil y a veces incluso me costaba conectar con mi bebé, como jugar con él o tener más paciencia. Eso me costó un poco, pero con apoyo de terapeuta, apoyo de Gaby, apoyo de amigas, creo que pude superar eso y ya hoy en día soy como una mamá más dedicada, igual también más informada y más consciente y amable conmigo misma para poder desarrollar mi maternidad. Porque si yo estoy bien, mi bebé va a estar bien.
And then Gabriella started coming over and I realized I've got someone to talk to. It was a saving grace, really.
The thing for me that actually wraps everything together and makes me feel so complete is that the home visitor that we have, she has taught me so much about babies and the stages that their brain go through, mental, physical, everything about children, and it just totally made me feel like I was the best mom in the world.
I realized that my life was going to change dramatically in ways that I did not know or understand or even comprehend. I was going to have to really go to the well and become accountable and adjust to a lot of things differently.
Que queríamos era que naciera, ya, sí, ya quiero tener, entonces ahorita lo que tenemos es aprovecharla, quererla y cuidarla lo más que se pueda.
Creo que a todos nos preocupa la primera vez que nos dicen que vamos a ser padres.
When we started the program, my daughter was about 3 months, and my daughter's 22 months now. Something I love about my child, that she's healthy, she's happy, she knows that she's cared for and loved. Those are some of the things that I wanted to make sure that she had, and she has them.
I'm happy today with my daughter. She's the greatest thing in my life, and I'm glad to wake up and see her, and everything I do it for her.
Sí, bueno, yo también vengo de una familia separada. Creo que por eso también me motiva a estar más presente con él, de quizás también estar de la forma quizás que yo no la tuve para Máximo. Y también comprender que el padre no solo es el que pone los límites y las reglas, sino que también está ahí para hablar, acompañar, regalonear, jugar, cosas lindas también, no solo ser el guía para el niño, sino que también un compañero de vida.
I was more of elated and thankful because for 3 months I was in baby land, and when you're in baby world, you're just kind of flying by the seat of your pants and hoping you know that you're just supportive in the ways that you can be supportive.
Pero pues aquí pues ya los enseñan un poquito más cosas que uno no sabía, como cuidarla, cómo desarrollarla, cómo educarla, y pues es algo bien porque pues cosas que yo no sabía, pues ya usted nos las dijo y todo como consejos, y pues muchas cosas que se aprendieron.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia, sino más bien un programa de estado programado para la ayuda solamente. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros, porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades. Siempre nos hemos podido apoyar en Gaby a través de su programa. Encuentro que ha sido fundamental el apoyo.
You know, my experience has been nothing but positive. Annette has been wonderful. She's on time. She lets me know if there's going to be any changes in the schedule.
Not only did we get the assistance with this program, but we also made a really good friend. I'm happy to call Gabby our friend.
I still feel the challenge of being a parent now in today's world is immense. I think that you need support.
Es un gran apoyo para nuevos padres y más aún si están en nuestra situación, que somos extranjeros, que nuestra familia y amigos, como dice Carla, están en otro país, lejos. Entonces sí viene muy bien el programa para apoyarse tanto emocional y como anímicamente y bueno, en varios aspectos del programa que nos ayuda a seguir adelante con esta nueva aventura.
Don't be afraid to take that step. Like, don't be afraid to get help, because you might think that you know what you're doing, but it's always okay to have extra support, and don't do it alone.
Give it a try. You got nothing to lose. It's free. I'm grateful that I took advantage because it's something that has put me in touch with my child, or closer to my child and her development.
Personally, I think everybody could benefit from the home visiting programs.
I think that as a parent now, I'm grateful for support more than I was before.
I filled out that form not knowing what I was doing. I am very, very grateful that I did it because it's really helping me a lot.
Bueno, creo que por mi parte esperaba algo totalmente diferente, como un programa más frío, por decir algo, no tan cercano a la familia. Y a través del programa nos hemos dado cuenta que también pasa a ser una familia con nosotros porque nos apoya en los momentos difíciles o cuando nos hemos visto en dificultades.
Well, I was a new mom and I had no experience taking care of a newborn.
There isn't like a book on how to raise a kid.
We come from like a lot of family history of, drugs, violence, alcoholism, so we didn't want our daughter to experience any of that.
The thought that a parent was supposed to be loving, nurturing, supposed to be there for their kid, provide food, shelter, joy, and going in, becoming a parent for her, I had no clue how to provide that.
Cómo pensar educarla, cómo educar a un hijo porque pues nosotros nunca, es la primera vez que íbamos a ser padres.
What I think parents should know about home visiting is that you can learn
Public
a lot.
Health, Safety, and Natural Resources Committee. And can we have roll call?
Chair Jurdy
Present.
and Supervisor Williams.
Present. And it looks like we have one major item on the agenda, which is discussion and possible action, including acceptance of an update from EKI Environment and Water regarding discussion and recommendations of the Mendocino County Water Resources Team. And so let's go to Director Howard Shield.
Good morning, Mr. Chair. Today we are continuing much of the same discussion we had last month around the work of the Technical Advisory Committee to prioritize the projects that were submitted by various stakeholders around the county. As you'll recall, last month we presented 11 projects because we had prioritized and listed the first 10, and then the TAC had suggested that perhaps some trailer parks could be part of a SAFER grant and that the county become the applicant for a SAFER program. And of course, I reminded this standing committee that the contract we have with EKI was to assist with 5 grant applications, so 11 seemed a little difficult, but this group wanted us to maybe get a little more information on that, and we have that now. This same presentation will be given to your full board tomorrow. However, this standing committee can give its own recommendation. So with no further ado, I would ask Amir from EKI to just briefly go through the presentation and with the updates.
Okay. Thanks, Howard, and hi, everyone. As Howard mentioned, Amir from EKI, Amir Mani from EKI. We basically went through a similar presentation during the previous meeting. So I'm probably going to skip through a few slides that are introductions and the TAC introduction because you've already seen those. But like Howard mentioned, and it's in the packet, this is one part of our scope with the county to prioritize the water project needs in the county and then help the top priorities apply for available grants and pursue funding. As part of these 2 items on our scope, a TAC was formed with the help of Howard and the Department of Transportation. And we had 2 meetings with the TAC, as you know. I'm going to skip through our introduction and I just go to the TAC. So the technical committee that was formed had 5 members, each from 1 supervisory district. The District 1 was Deborah Edelman, District 2 Sean White, District 3 Jim Shields, District 4 John Smith, and District 5 James Sullivan. We also had 3 non-voting members on the TAC. Howard Dashiell from Department of Transportation, Steve Donicliff from the Executive Office, and John Hopper from UC Cooperative Extension. The 2 meetings that we held, but basically the theme was the first meeting was going through the process, how we're going to basically solicit projects from stakeholders in the county, try to come up with a project list that we want to prioritize. What are the priorities in the county? Just getting general feedback and also introducing the technical committee to our charge. The second meeting was more going through the list of projects, trying to prioritize the projects, rank them based on the scoring and ranking criteria that we established, and then getting the recommendations from the technical committee to come to this board, to this meeting, basically committee, and then going to the Board of Supervisors. So I basically went through this last time, so I tried to be quick so we have more room for discussing the projects and the SAFER grant. But basically this is the process that we're following. We right at the PHSR circle, the 4th one, and then we're going to go to the Board of Supervisors tomorrow. And then based on the direction that we receive, we're going to continue to the next item on our scope, which is try to communicate with those project leads, the priorities, and try to find a grant, try to work with them to apply for those grants and actually pursue funding. To come up with the project list, there was a back and forth process. There was outreach to different stakeholders. So there was an existing list that the county, the Department of Transportation, and Water Agency, through the drought ad hoc committee a couple years ago, put together for the drought funding. So we started with that project list, and we grew that project list with new suggestions from different stakeholders. That there was also a list of the stakeholders that we started with, but that grew through the suggestions from different people to contact tribes, to contact small drinking water systems, community associations, and all that. So we tried to basically reach out to as many stakeholders as we can, as we could, and then we basically came up with, I think, 41 projects with various levels of details in terms of their stage of design, the level of funding that they needed, and we brought that to the technical committee with 3 different scoring systems so they can basically go through it. The scoring system that was selected by the technical committee, and it was our recommendation, was based on the poll that we conducted during the first technical committee meeting. We basically suggested 10 different criteria based on the Water Agency implementation plan that was done by GEI a year or a couple of years ago. And then we asked the technical committee members to rank them based on how they see the priorities in the county. And then we basically used that ranking to rate and score the 41 projects that we had on the list. And then that sorted them. We had some discussions. Overall, the technical committee agreed with the list of projects that we had and how we rated them, but they moved a couple projects because, for example, the 10th project that you see on the list, it was a countywide project. Everyone agreed that that's better to be included. On our ranking system, that was not a top 10. And then a couple projects basically were on the top 10, but they were for the Groundwater Sustainability Agency. They were already applied for through the SGM grant. So we basically left them off and added projects that we could apply for grants anew, basically, in this process. These 10 projects are the same that we presented last time. It's in your agenda packet. There is a good distribution of projects in terms of supervisory districts and also the types of projects. The top 5 are projects that also very well go along with the list that Supervisor McGordy provided during one of the previous meetings. And everyone on the TAC with different perspectives agreed that these are great projects to go for. The reason that we have top 10, and like Howard mentioned, we have up to 5 in our scope, is that we need to talk to the project leads and see what their needs are, what grants are available. So there might be a case that we can't really apply for a project in the near term, and then we move to the next project. So we wanted to have a list that we can actually move to the next ones without coming back to the board and try to get a direction on that. So we're going to try to do as much as we can with these top 10 projects that we have here. The second part of the recommendation that Howard mentioned, Director Dashiell, is a recommendation to go for the countywide SAFER grant. And we had an introductory discussion last time about this. The SAFER program is kind of an umbrella program in State Board that addresses like community needs in terms of drinking water. And a lot of its focus is on domestic wells and disadvantaged communities and small drinking, state smalls and small public drinking water systems. The countywide SAFER is a small part of that program that helps counties or NGOs that can work with multiple counties apply for it and address multiple needs under that countywide SAFER. The reason that the TAC recommended this was we had a couple mobile home parks on our project list that did not happen to be on our top 10 in terms of scoring, but there was consensus that they need drinking water help, basically, and TAC found that the SAFER grant might be the way to go to help them. So after that recommendation, we brought it to this committee, but after our discussion in this committee, I tried to reach out to State Board to see how feasible this is. And one of the TAC members, James Sullivan, is also on the SAFER Advisory Board. So we had like a direct input about the program too. So through him and through discussion with I had 2 discussions with the State Board financial, basically, services. The first thing that's needed to be eligible under the countywide is that you need to be a domestic well or a state small system. State small system is normally less than 15 connections. And none of those 2 mobile home parks actually fit under this eligibility criteria. And I tried to verify with the State Board, and they were adamant that they're not state smalls. They are public water systems. As a result, they can't be eligible under the countywide SAFER. So if the county actually applies for this grant, it can receive it, it can do whatever is on the application, but those 2 mobile home parks cannot fit under the countywide SAFER. The SAFER program itself can fund those projects because it includes a lot more funding capabilities and other projects, but those applications need to be project specific and not under the countywide umbrella. And then I talked to the State Board and I tried to reach out to the project lead, Sir Bradley. I sent her an email, but I haven't had a chance because there was an emergency we had to reschedule, but haven't had a chance to talk to her yet. But what we see in EKI as the best path to go to help those 2 mobile home parks is that they apply for their projects because their projects are in construction nature, so they need a large grant amount. And that's not really fit under the countywide, but the State Board was very willing and interested into funding those projects, but they said they need to be applied to another part of the grant. So what the State Board suggested is that to communicate with the State Board through what is called a Technical Assistance Program, which is a TA program. It's also another grant. So that grant basically is that we find those mobile home parks as some sort of a consultant, but it's normally a nonprofit, that they help them write the grant. So they basically come and do what EKI is trying to do for the county, for those 2 mobile home parks. And then they write an application to a state board for the specific SAFER program that can fund their projects. And they get the grant to fund that project. So this way, I think it's ideal in a sense that as part of our scope, we also need to be a state and federal contact for the county as long as we serve as the interim water resources team. So we can help them arrange these meetings with state board and try to help basically apply for the TA funding program. And then the TA can come in and apply for their grant. And this also resolves the concern that the SAFER needs the county to pay first and then get reimbursed. And also there is an administration cost till the county goes to an agreement process with the state board that cannot be reimbursed. So all those would be would not apply to this because the county would not be the lead grant applicant. They would be the lead grant applicant and they would receive reimbursement from their expenses.
So for clarification, who's the they?
I'm sorry?
Who is the they? Is it the mobile home park?
The mobile home parks.
Right.
Okay.
The one of the stakeholders that takes care of these 2 mobile home parks, Sarah Brady, added them to the list, and then I think one of the TAC members said, well, the county should take the lead on that. And what Amir's saying is, no, in fact, those mobile home parks need to be their own lead. And let me just interject at this point before Amir goes on, that it's really more consistent with the original direction we were getting from the board last year, in that we would assist these small independent districts and water companies, but the county wouldn't become the grant lead. And asking us to do a SAFER ourselves was, a little surprising to me last month. And it's a little more reason why we really can't do that anyway. So I'll let Amir continue.
Exactly. Thanks, Howard. So whoever is the lead project manager for those projects would apply to the grant, but for the application, we can get help for them in terms of the TA grant, so they don't have to pay for grant writing, and they also have help to write the grant and communicate with the state board. Because what I understood from talking to a state board is that the SAFER itself, the grant application, is a lot of communication. It's a lot of back and forth. So someone being there, like a help being there for the projects to help them communicate with the state board and understand the needs, it would really help in terms of the agreement that needs to be in place. Also, in terms of the countywide, since these 2 projects cannot be funded, then basically we didn't have anything on the list that could be done on the list of projects under the countywide SAFER. So I think this is the best path for those 2 projects to be addressed. And I have been trying to reach out, and I think I'm going to have a call with Sarah Bradley to see if they're willing to go. And also the projects that we have, so each mobile home park had 3 separate projects, all in different stages of development. So in this way, basically we don't need to combine them. They can just apply to the one that's ready and that's needed with the TA grant, and there's no limit on application for the TA grant. They can go for another TA grant if another project needs to be funded. So I think it's the overall better approach that I'm going to communicate with them, and EKI under scope can help facilitate all the communications for the TA grant with the state board.
So the 2 mobile home parks, were there more than 2?
On the project list, we had 2.
Okay, so the 2 mobile home parks, they can directly apply for the grants. Now, did you say that they could also get a technical assistance grant to help them understand how to proceed in the grant application process?
That is my understanding from state board, yes.
Okay, so it seems to me that the county's doing a great service to these 2 mobile home parks and the people living in them by helping them understand how, well, first of all, if we can help them get the technical assistance grant, and secondly, just to be even aware of these grant sources. So sort of leading a horse to water and letting the horse figure out how to drink the water.
That is our goal. That's my understanding, and I think it's a really great approach if we can facilitate that to happen for these 2 mobile home parks. And it can be a model for any other project that needs to be done, because state board is really willing to fund these type of projects. It's just, it has been a basically blockage of them getting to these grants, but the TA program, if we can introduce it and people can use this TA grant to actually help them, write the grants and get the grants, I think it would open up access to this funding under state board programs.
And then just one final question. So these two mobile home parks were brought to the attention, I guess, to the TAC. Are there other mobile home parks that, I'm just going to guess, environmental health may be aware of that may be in need of some upgrades?
Well, it's my understanding that state of California directly looks at mobile home parks, not the county health department. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But I'm the road guy, bridge guy, not the water guy. But anyway, she had brought these on the list. You know, we tried to solicit all the stakeholders out there. And I think there was a mix-up on whether the county could or should do this. And then my next question would be, well, if the board directed the county to do it, that's one off of your list of 5. So you'd have 4 more for help on. But it looks like Amir has come up with some ideas for this private operator who happens, I think she's a consultant that does the water for both mobile home parks. So if there were more out there, this would certainly be a model if she learned how to do it. But I get the idea she's a contractor who looks after several water systems.
Well, I find the work product to be highly responsive to the original direction. I think EKI has been very diligent and another stellar execution by the director. So I wish if we would fund roads, I'd really like to see what you could do out there with this level of execution. I don't have any input on the project specifics. I mean, I still think all 10 or 11 projects have merit, and curious to see what my colleagues say tomorrow about finding funding sources for more than the top 5.
Yes, and that's basically after we get the direction, that's our process to go with the project list. We need to understand the details of each project a bit more, and then compare them to what is available and try to see what can be funded to what extent, and then those discussions will happen in the next month, basically.
The one piece of information that's missing for me is the column with the approximate cost. And I know we may not have it in dollars, but maybe it's like like restaurant reviews where you see $1, $2, or $3 signs. You know, some of these I imagine are $1 sign projects. Maybe we could do 2 or 3 of those for the cost of one of the more expensive. How can the board, maybe not today, but by tomorrow, have some visibility into whether we could accomplish more projects if we were to pick the right combination?
Well, just clarification, remember, this is simply the scope of work is for EKI to assist those 5 lead agencies in preparing their own application. You see, then they have the funding, they have the match. We're just giving this technical expertise and the contacts EKI has in the water community to assist them. So I guess it doesn't really matter what it costs because the 5 entities will get their grant and put up their own match.
So Director, if I have it right, we could choose any 5 of these and it would be the same effort as far as our involvement.
Correct. I think EKI is prepared to assist in any way they can, but ultimately the applicant's responsible for their own application and their own project.
So Supervisor Jurdy, or Chair Jurdy, as it may be, should we follow the ranking? I mean, staff has gone to the length with the technical group to rank these projects, but I see several would fall in one district. Is there a goal to spread the funds out across the county?
Well, I think I want to hear what the full board has to say about that. You know, I mean, I'd like to hear a little more. I assume that we may have at our board meeting at least 1 or 2 members of the TAC maybe, you know, entering into the board discussion. So if some of the board members have concerns about the ranking or, you know, moving one project in and pulling one project out, it'd be interesting to hear what the TAC members have to say.
Could there be a recommendation to start with the first 5 and then come back the following year for the other 5, hoping we can find a funding source between now and then?
So are you looking for a recommendation from the, I mean, we have a recommendation from the TAC, and I don't know, I just feel like we ought to just see how the discussion goes tomorrow.
I'm happy to do that. I'm just was noting that this came to us today, and if all we do is kick it to the meeting tomorrow, it's almost like this meeting didn't happen. Should we give the full board any recommendation from the committee?
Just to interject a piece of information, the number 6 is already funded. While we were talking to them, they actually applied to a FEMA grant, and gratefully they got the grant. So number 6, as I understand, they're funded now to start their project.
And number 8 is within the city of Ukiah.
It is, my understanding is City of Ukiah already, so this is basically to purchase areas where the source water basically happens, so we protect the water quality that comes down, and the city already spent a significant amount of money for purchasing of lands, so this is just a continuation of that effort.
Is there any opportunity to ask City of Ukiah and perhaps City of Fort Bragg if they'd like to collaborate on funding, if it means we could do more project preparation?
We can have that discussions with them. I don't know if the collaboration would happen or not.
Okay, well, thanks for the presentation.
Thank you.
Do we have any public comment on this item? Okay, doesn't look like we have any in. I got an indication there were none online. And none in the room. Okay, all right, then we'll go to item 3A, which is public.
Do you want a motion? Recommended?
Sure, go ahead.
I move the recommended action.
Okay, I'll second the motion.
Sorry. Chair Jurdy
Yes.
and Supervisor Williams.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right, now we'll go to public expression on items not on today's agenda. Do we have any online? Any in the room? Okay, 3B, then we'll go to 3B, which is approval of the minutes of February 27th.
Move approval.
Okay, I'll second approval. Do we have any public comment on our minutes? Okay, not seeing any. Okay.
Supervisor Williams
Yes.
and Chair Jurdy.
Yes.
Motion carries unanimously.
All right. We are adjourned at 2:13.